But before the year really gets busy, there's one important question we need to ask ourselves. Are we actually ready financially for 2026? And I want to ask you this morning, are you actually ready financially for 2026? Now, for individuals and for businesses, this year comes with both opportunities and real challenges. I mean, the cost of living is kind of high. Some people actually think it is too high. Others think it is okay. Income is changing, and the financial decisions we make early can actually affect how the rest of the year goes for us. And this is why this conversation matters. And this morning we are talking about smart money moves to start 2026 strong. And we'll look at how to plan realistically, how to save and invest wisely, how to manage your debt, and maybe how to even explore additional income streams. And we'll also talk about how technology can help you stay in control of your money instead of confusing us. And I'm joined now by Mr. Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji. He is with Maybank Capital, and he joins me this morning for this conversation. Good morning, Nelson. You're welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z. Sorry, I think hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me this morning.
All right. Thanks so much for making time to join us. We're really grateful. So let's get into our conversation. Of course, we're talking about smart money moves, some of the things that we have to do to start 2026 strong, especially financially. Now, many people actually wait until pressure hits before they take their finances seriously. As we step into a new year, let's start with timing. Why does planning early matter, and what advantages or what advantage does it give individuals and businesses?
Thank you very much once again. I think that planning is very important, even at the governmental level. Government normally presents the budget for the national economy for the ensuing fiscal year, detailing the expenditure the government intends to incur, and also the sources of revenue the government wants to use in order to finance those expenditure. When you come to businesses level, businesses, some companies even go outside the office. They do what we call strategic meeting, strategic session in order to plan for the next, financial year, in order for them to have their costs under control and also determine how they can maximize their revenue for the following year. And so at the household level, too, it is very important that we also plan ahead and know the kind of expenses that we will incur the following year, the sources of the cash inflow that we expect to finance, those expenditure. It is important because once you are able to plan, you can have full control over your expenditure and also identify certain expenditures that you think are not necessary. Because as household, when you go into the expenditure, you realize that generally there are three categories of expenditure. We have the fixed expenditure, which we incur every month, for instance, on rent. You also have variable expenditure, for instance, on groceries. And you have some irregular expenditure, things that we just see online that are not traditionally, typically part of our expenditure. And so once you are able to plan, you have control over those expenditures and make sure that you buy those that you actually need and not those that you just want for, let's say, fashion sake or just to put it in your room. So planning is very important. It helps you to have control over the expenditure, and it also helps you to identify the sources from which your income will be coming from.
Right. So you speaking about planning generally. How about this time? Why is it better to put in place those plans? Some people are waiting for us to get into 2026 before they start planning. Why is this time very crucial?
Well, it is very important because a lot of expenditures are incurred during this period. Don't forget that Christmas is a period of love. Christmas is a period of sharing and giving. You have your cousins out there, you have your aunties out there, you have your children, your wives. And so it is important to plan at this time, because if you don't plan, you may end up spending everything you have at this time. And when you get to January, somebody said January is always 59 months. It doesn't end. And so if you don't plan in the month of December and cut down on some unnecessary expenditure, when we enter the month of January, it is always difficult. And so this is the time to plan and not when we enter into the month of January.
Right. Okay. Before we look at exactly what people should be paying attention to or how the plan should be for next year, I believe strongly that every year leaves out with financial lessons. I mean, some painful, some rewarding, and what have you. So before setting new goals for 2026, what are some of the reflections, or what reflections should people honestly make about this year?
Okay. We always do what we call analysis in time and analysis in space. I mean, you have to compare what you have done the previous year, compare what you have done this year, then you can make a meaningful, deduction. Now, I mean, if you are somebody who your income stream is only one, that'll be very difficult because every now and then things are changing, and so you cannot rely on only one income stream. So that should be a factor that you should take into consideration. This year, I have solely dependent on my salary. The salary is not enough. It is not sustainable. It is only from hand to mouth. Now, going into next year, what else can I do in order to, earn additional income? And so that should be a consideration in terms of expenditure. And in terms of income, then in terms of expenditure, you must also ask yourself, what were some of the expenses that I have paid for or incurred during this current year that, in your opinion, you think are not really, really relevant? And once you're able to identify those expenditures, then it serves as a baseline that, okay, when I enter next year, I should be careful as to the kind of expenses that I incur. So it is important to make these deductions. If not, you enter into next year with the same level of appetite for spending when actually your income does not support those expenditures.
Are there any other areas? I think like debts or something.
Yes, of course. I mean, if a reason why I started by saying that you need to know your income stream, you need to know your expenditure. Then when your income is way more than your expenditure, then you are good to go. But to the extent that your expenditure is more than your revenue, it means that you have to go and borrow. Now, for borrowing, you can get it from various sources, either from family, either from friends, either from the banks. And that also means that the following year, you'll be paying interest costs on the loans that you have taken. Of course, if you take the loan from your friends and family, they may not be interested in taking the interest, depending on how the negotiation went. However, if you take it from a typical financial institution, they are in business to make profit. And so you will be compelled to be paying your principal plus interest as an installment, and that is going to impact negatively on your income.
Yeah.
And so if your income is not enough and you are overburdened with debt, then it means that your situation will worsen. And so when it comes to issues of debt, it is always advisable that if you don't need it, don't go in for it. Some will say, oh, the interest is so low, I can take it and buy this and that. However, the impact of the repayment is always problematic. And so if you don't need that particular credit, don't go in for it.
I see. So those are some of the things that we have to look at in 2025 before we begin to plan for 2026. You talk about income streams, and I'm going to come back to that very soon. Maybe you're going to tell us exactly what are some of the, what some other income streams people can be looking at, practical ones that they can be looking at going into the year 2026. But people actually often set ambitious goals that don't survive beyond January. You know, what exactly separates a wish from a workable financial goal, especially given today's economic realities?
And that's a very difficult one. I mean, you see, yes, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we all go to church. We make so many wishes. We pray to God that this and this and this is what we want to do. However, the first question that we ask ourselves is, do we have the capacity to undertake? I mean, some of those things. Somebody says, okay, fine, you pray, God will intervene. Yes, we are all Christians, we believe in that. However, if you don't have the capacity, the physical capacity to undertake whatever project that you want to do, you may not be able to do it. And again, even if you have the capacity, one of the things that may play a critical role is discipline. You get to understand that somebody said, okay, this year I have to go back to school. The person will say, okay, well, because most of the schools, they sell their admission forms sometimes 2 times or 3 times during the year. I may not go during the first admission session. So I'll go for it. By the time you realize first quarter has ended. Now, when first quarter has ended, then the second quarter has started. You get to realize that the days are just moving fast. Then you say, okay, let me push it to next year. Next year, I'll start. So discipline is key. If you are not disciplined, even if you have the capacity and you are not disciplined, you are not committed, you are not focused, you are not goal-oriented, I mean, you keep on postponing all the projects that you have, every year. For which is everybody, I mean, can wish anything, but the capacity, the discipline, the commitment, the focus, I mean, it's key in accomplishing some of these things.
I see. Interestingly, a few minutes before our conversation, I was checking something and I saw a post by somebody, and he says that he was actually praying to God. He says that, Lord, help me so that this year I won't expect a miracle when I'm supposed to be disciplined. So it's interesting how you're talking about the same thing. Some of us expect miracles. We're expecting God to come through for us in several ways, when indeed we have to put in the work to make everything happen. And that hits me right hard, because there have been things that I've actually pushed to next year, which I should have done this year. So thank you very much. Maybe I'll be more intentional going forward. I'm really grateful. And I'm sure our listeners are also taking a thing or two from whatever we are sharing. Now, let's look at this one as well. Now, some people actually try to save, they try to invest, and even start a business, or even clear all their debt at the same time. Is this a wise thing to do, or does focus matter in this more than ambition?
Okay, so now when you look at the personal financial management cycle, it begins with income generation. After income generation, the next thing that comes is expenditure or expenses. The next thing that comes after expenses is savings. Then the next thing that comes after savings is investment. And the last one is protection, or what I call insurance.
Please take us through them again.
All right. So the first one is you generate your income. So your income can either come from your salaries or business income or investment income or any kind of income.
Okay.
Then somebody is okay, when the money comes, I have to expend. So then expenses comes in. Then after the expenses, when your income is more than your expenses, then you have a surplus. So you can have something to save.
Okay.
Then after your savings, then you must also think of investment.
Okay.
Then after investment, of course, you drive a car, you have to pay insurance. So you have to, what you call protection. Or insurance.
Right.
So this is a typical generic personal financial management cycle. Now, when you look at this cycle, somebody can say, okay, when the income comes, I have to go straight forward and do investment. So I'm putting 10% of my income in investments. For investment, it's a bit of a long term or short, medium to long term.
Okay, yeah.
So somebody can say, okay, fine. Let me also put something aside in form of savings. So the person will go and open a savings account in a bank and be putting money, or even Susu box, or put the money down. And then whatever is left, I will now begin to spend in terms of my normal expenditure. And of course, take care of protection.
Yeah.
Now, the decision as to what to do after income generation is dependent on the individual. So what I just mentioned is something that I will do. That as soon as the money comes, I'll go in and do investment. Then I'll put something aside for unforeseen contingencies. And then whatever is left, then I'll share it among my expenses. Somebody can also say, okay, fine. As soon as the money comes, I am owing. Now, if it is a bank, you have two options. Either to continue with your monthly installment payment, which will form part of your expenses, or you can also decide to, go and pay off your debt one-off and be free. So at the end of the day, these are personal decisions that the individual must make based on his circumstances at the time that he's making the decision. And so you paying off your debt one time off is a personal decision. You're trying to invest part of your money before you even think of your expenditure. It's also a personal decision.
Okay.
So this is how the personal financial management cycle, where there are certain nitty-gritties, but generally this is how it works. So some of these decisions are personal decisions. Maybe at the time that you want to do the investment, the person from whom you borrow the money from is chasing you, which means that that month you may not be able to do the investment. You rather go and pay off your debt. You get it. Yeah. And so it's a personal decision to be taken based on the cycle.
I see. So which one would you advise that is the best to go with?
Well, one of the problems or difficulties that we have as a working class in Ghana is our, investment decision. You see, the money is not even enough. Imagine you are living in Accra, you are in a rented apartment and all that. The money is not enough. But the thing too is that little drops of water makes a mighty ocean.
Right.
If you say you will not invest or because the money is not enough, it means that you are not building any buffer in case of any emergency.
True.
And it is always unwise to always spend everything that you earn at the end of the month, and then by 20th, 21st, all your salary is gone and you are waiting for the next month and that. No matter how meager the salary is, you must always try as much as possible, to put something aside. And that is how you can grow financially. And so even if it is 250 cedis or 300 cedis you are saving every month, by the end of the year, you can have something to rely on. And if you do that over a period of 3, 4, 5 years, it becomes a habit. And so you know that certainly when the salary comes, this money must go into, this investment. Some people even place a standing order on their account. They will tell their bankers that, okay, when my salary comes, please deduct 2,000 cedis every month or 1,000 cedis every month and buy treasury bill for me. And so as soon as the money comes, the bank will quickly deduct it and then they'll use it to buy the bill for you. So I will always advise that the first point or the first thing to do when your salary hits your account is to place something in investment.
Okay.
Then when you place something in investment, then you now begin with your expenses. And even that, if it is possible, that you still put something into savings. Savings in the sense that, anything at all can happen at any time. Something that will be a low-hanging fruit that you can lay your hands on. You can put something small in investment, then you start your, incurring or paying for your expenses.
Okay. Wow.
So I will take it from income to investment to savings. Then, your expenditure will now come.
Right. Okay. And then protection is still last?
Yes. Well, the protection, because it's not everybody who pays for insurance, in this country. If you don't have a car, you cannot pay for your comprehensive or third party, or maybe any other insurance package that you want to take, because there is an unforeseen probability that there is a risk that is, so you need to protect against it. If you are having a small shop that you are a sole proprietor and then you are into selling of provisions, you should take an insurance to cover your shop. So these are some of the things that you need to do. Okay. But for me, that should be the last, because it is not everybody who has to pay insurance at the end of every month or periodically.
Okay. Right. We're going to stay on savings for a few minutes. I want to just understand a few things and ask a few questions around that. But please hold on for me. Let me just announce the phone lines in case anybody's listening to us and they want to join the conversation. Please, you are allowed to do that. Your comments are welcome. You can send us a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019, or you can call us on 030395661, 030395661, or you can also drop a comment under our live stream. We're on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment and I will read your messages for you. If you have a question, Nelson is here to answer all of that for you. If you just tune in as well, this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. And this morning, we're talking about smart money moves to start 2026 strong. A lot of people actually wait to begin their financial plans in the year, the new year. But this time, we want to just encourage you to do that before we get into the year. Nelson says that is actually the way to go, so that you can look at all the things and then you can begin very, very well. So that's what we're talking about this morning. And my guest is Nelson Kudjo Kwagbeji, is with Maybank Capital, and he is helping us have this conversation this morning. Please do well to send me your comments, send me your questions, and I'll read them for you. Okay. So, Nelson, let's continue the conversation.
Yes.
Now, there's actually a growing belief that saving means suffering. You know, is it possible to enjoy life and still build financial security? And how can people strike that balance?
Oh, yes. Why not? I mean, you can still enjoy life. Whilst you also try to save something. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's all dependent on how much you are earning and the kind of lifestyle you want to live. You see, there is a saying in the local parlance that you must always cut your coat according to, your clothes or your means. I mean, you cannot spend when you don't have. So to the extent that you are saving doesn't mean that you are going to suffer. I believe that lifestyle is very important. I mean, you don't try to impress anybody by living a lifestyle that will, to the detriment of you preparing for your future. And so I don't support, or I don't share in that saying. You see, yes, we all agree that salaries or compensations generally in Ghana is not really at par with international standard. I mean, here we work for 30 days before salaries are paid. But in other jurisdictions, I mean, salaries or compensations are paid every 2 weeks, or even sometimes on hourly basis and that kind of thing. But here in Ghana, it's 30 days. So when the money comes before the 30 days has even elapsed, the money is even finished. But I always believe that it is important. I mean, to the extent that you live, you breathe, you are prone to any sickness or whatever, it is always good, to save towards that day. Because I've always been telling my friends that, see, you cannot put your trust in any person, because the fact that the person dresses well, drives a nice car and all that doesn't mean that financially the person is stable. And so the day you will call the person for an assistance, it could also mean that the person is also facing a challenge or a difficulty at that time.
Right.
And so it is always good that on personal basis, we try to, as much as possible, no matter how meager the salary is, we try to save something. That doesn't mean that you must also suffer, because you are working, and so you should also try to, enjoy yourself. However, you must try to strike a balance between the two. I believe that one of the issues that is actually affecting the current generation has to do with what they see on social media.
The pressure.
You see, exactly. And so, because they see somebody posting nice pictures on social media, they think that, oh, that is it. And so they also try to actually burn the kind of the little savings they have just to impress people on social media. That shouldn't be the case. You must always try to live within your means and then save towards that day, because you may not know. You will get there and Charlie, you'll be very hot. So I don't share in that saying that, you will suffer, or your lifestyle will suffer some way, somehow, when you are saving part of your salary. I don't think I'll share in that ideology. We must always try to live within our means. If you are earning 5,000, you cannot go and rent in East Legon. That is practically impossible, unless, of course, there is another source of income or revenue. So that is what I'll say about that.
Okay, so it's possible to strike that balance, and
yes,
by living within your
very
means,
possible.
You'll be able to do that. Now, almost everyone actually wants to save. I know that quite a number of people want to save, but yet, many of them still fail to follow through. What are the real reasons behind this struggle, and how can people fix that practically?
Well, as I said, it has to do with the discipline that we were talking about initially. You see, for the expenses, they are there. But if you want to save, you have to be disciplined to do it. If your money is paid through a bank account, and you know that as soon as you go in for the money, Charlie, everything will bend, why don't you put a standing order on your account? Why don't you give an instruction to your bank that, hey, when the money comes, please deduct this from my account and use it to, buy this instrument for me. So that when you walk to the bank, whatever you go and take, you know effectively that, yes, I've put something aside, and so I can use this one for my expenses. I think that savings and investment has to do more with discipline. It has to do more with discipline and intentionality, because you are saving towards a particular purpose. And so if you are not intentional about it, every year, every month, you end up expending everything that you earn at the end of the month. And so I think that the challenge that we've all had, it happens to us all the time, has to do with discipline and intentionality. If we are disciplined and intentional about the purpose for which we want to save or invest, I think that it should be easy for all of us to do that.
All right. Let's move on to investments. The start of the year, it often comes with some excitement and the pressure to put some money aside. Invest quickly. What errors should people avoid so that they don't lose money before even the year gains momentum?
Can you repeat the question again? Go ahead.
Yeah, essentially what I'm asking is that what investment mistakes do people commonly make at the beginning of the year? And which ones, how can they avoid them? Yeah.
Sure. And so you see, if you are not a finance person, before you make any investment decision, you need to, consult those who are actually in the industry. Because investment is not just about a matter of going to an investment bank and say, good morning, I want to invest. There are certain basic tips that you have to be given in order for you to appreciate. For instance, if you are somebody who needs money, you have the money now, but you will need it back in 3 months' time, it is always advisable that you go and buy a shorter dated instrument. But if you have money and you say, okay, I need this money in about 2 years, 3 years' time, and then your advisor will tell you, okay, looking at the performance on the Ghana Stock Exchange, I'll recommend this and this and this stock or shares for you. And so to the extent that you don't have the financial advice, it is always prudent that you approach those who are in the industry so that they can guide you, so that they can coach you as to the best investment decisions to make. But then if you go and just say, okay, I want to do this investment, at the end of the day, if it doesn't go on well, then it becomes a bit problematic. And so these are some of the mistakes that they do. We must always consult those who are in the industry so that they can guide and coach us as to the best instruments to go for.
So you need to do your due diligence and also engage some people. Now, but I know that you can still offer some advice when it comes to investment. And I know that not every investment is for everyone. Like you said, different kinds of needs will require you to put your money into different kinds of things. How can an individual assess what truly works for them? Instead of following trends, people say today maybe T-bills are doing well, everybody's just jumping on that, or this other instrument is doing well, let's all move there. How can people actually assess what truly works for them?
Yes, so that is where you when you approach your stockbroker or you approach the bank that will buy the instrument for you, you actually tell them what you want. Okay, you tell them what you want, because there is always a trade-off between risk and return. And so you tell them exactly what you want. Then based on what you want, then they can sort of try to profess a solution to you. As I did indicate, there are some people who don't like taking risk. When you go to the stock market, the payment of dividend or the appreciation of the listed company share, some way somehow is dependent on the performance of that particular company. And so when the company is doing very well, they will declare dividend to be paid, the stock's value will appreciate, you get your capital gains and all that. So it depends on what you want. But if you are somebody who doesn't like risk, then you want to go in for the fixed income. The bonds are there, the treasury bills are there, the fixed deposits are there. All those fixed income instruments. And so you still have to consult so that they will know, your stockbroker or advisor will know what will best work for you. But if you don't tell them, they will just do the generic thing, look at the market, because at the end of the day, they also want to earn some small fees on the investment. And so they also look at which one will be good for you and which one will be good for them. And so as to what will work for you is dependent on what you want, your level of risk appetite, your liquidity preference, and in fact, a lot of factors to be taken into consideration when you tell them what exactly you want. It's a bit complicated, especially if you are not in that domain, because if you should give me 1 million this morning, I will construct a very nice portfolio for you. I will say, okay, let's do this, let's do a bit of this, let's do a bit of this. But if you are not a finance person. In finance, we call something diversification. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. And so you just go and use your money to go and buy bonds, and at the end of the day, there'll be a haircut.
Yeah.
And so it will be good that you consult, you approach the right people, and then they can advise you as to the best investment option to go in for.
All right, that's great, and I think that will be it for investments. Let's talk about lifestyle inflation. I know that when people begin to earn more, their spending often rises. I mean, just as fast. How does lifestyle inflation? Because how does that quietly undermine financial growth, and how can it be controlled? I don't know if you get a question.
Yes. So what you have just said, people are earning a lot of money.
Yeah.
There is so much money in the system. They are expending. They are spending the money. And so that can engender inflation. And, inflation, when inflation goes up, it's not something that is good for individuals. It's not good for businesses, and it's not even good for the economy in general because, it drives away even investors. And so that is why the central bank is there to actually monitor the temperature of the economy.
Yeah.
And if the temperature of the economy is very high, then they have the appropriate tools to absorb excess liquidity from the system. And so when it happens that way, then it also means that you have to cut down on your expenditure in order to drive down on inflation. And so these are purely monetary decisions that central banks often do. When they monitor that the temperature of the economy is too high, they intervene by way of mopping excess liquidity in order to cut down on expenditure to drive down on inflation.
Right. Okay. So very important. It's a very important thing that we need to look at. Let's move on to even spending habits. Many people actually equate financial discipline with deprivation. How does smart spending go beyond cutting expenses and actually improve financial health? How does that work?
Well, I like the word you use, smart spending. Smart spending. You see, we have already established that generally an individual expenditure can be categorized into three. We have the fixed one. Your landlord will be chasing you, so you have to pay. The only one that you have control over is your variable expenditure and the irregular expenditure. And so by spending in a smart way, what it means is that you don't just see anything online and place the order. By spending in a smart way, it means that you have to try as much as possible to cut down on costs. Even businesses is one of our key targets, to cut down on costs and also to maximize revenue. And so, and so when you want to expend or you want to spend money, you have to ask yourself a few questions. Do I really need this at this moment? Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have to incur this cost on this item? And if you get answers to this question, then you know whether to go in for the thing or not. I know people who use these 3 phones at the same time. Then you ask yourself, what do they actually need those 2 phones for? Every year and then, the higher version of iPhones are being released. Somebody will be holding 15, 16, 17. What are you using it for? That is not smart spending.
Yeah.
And so once you are spending in a smart way, what it also means is that you are cutting down on your expenditure, and we are also having excess liquidity or cash that you can, place into an investment or savings. And so smart spending is very, very, very important. In business cycles, we always talk about minimization of costs. We try as much as possible to minimize costs in order to enhance our bottom line. And so at the individual level too, smart spending is key. Once you are spending smartly, you can have some surplus cash that you can put aside for something else.
So typically, how can people spend smartly?
It depends on the individual's preference. As I did indicate, I cannot be having 3 phones at a go when I know that I only need 1 phone for my course and everything. So if you don't need it, don't purchase it. If you don't have a need for it, don't go in for it. Okay. Even in the house, there are certain things that we don't really need, but because of fashion and because of pressure, or you go and see it in somebody's apartment, you also want to get it. Once you are doing that, you are putting a financial strain on your income. And so if you don't need it, simply don't go in for it.
Okay. If you don't need it, simply don't go in for it. Now, let's touch on debts for a few minutes, and then we can now talk about some other things. Now, debt is often seen as either completely bad or totally unavoidable. Should people avoid it entirely? And is there a smarter way to manage debt responsibly?
Well, people go in for debt for so many reasons.
Yeah.
You can go in for debt to buy an asset, which is good. If you need it, you get it. People go in for debt for so many reasons. But the problem is that before the banks will also give you that debt, they also have to check what you technically call a debt service ratio, or what public sector workers normally call affordability. Do you have the capacity to pay your debt on monthly basis? Do you have the ability? Do you have the cash or the liquidity to be servicing your repayment every month? I think that for debt, if you don't need it for anything, don't go in for it. But most especially for public sector workers, they may want to go in for the debt to buy an asset for using, in the house. That's why sometimes it makes sense, because you don't have the money to go and buy it at once. And so something that can cost, let's say, 12,000, can be bought, with these credit malls and all these institutions in town, and the payment will be spread over a period of time. That makes a lot of sense, even though sometimes those ones too, they are a bit expensive. Once you need it, you go in for it. But the thing about that is that sometimes it can choke you. It can choke you in a sense that if you don't take time, you default on your payment. And when you default on your payment, penalties comes in, interest comes in. And if it goes to the extreme, police may also be involved, and the court may also be involved. And so it is always prudent that for the debt, if you don't need it, don't go in for it, because when it chokes you, then, there'll be a whole lot of issues.
Okay. Right. So, people have to be careful if they are going in for debt. All right. I mentioned earlier that we're going to touch on the income streams that are most practical for the average person right now. I know that cost of living is somewhere up there a little. People are relying on single income sources, which is quite risky. What realistic side income options can people explore in the coming year? I don't know if you have any you may want to share.
So, in terms of the income stream, apart from your employment income, which is the salaries, you can also be looking at your investment income. You see, because the salary comes, you instructed the bank to be deducting 2,000 cedis every month to be buying treasury bill of stocks for you. Over a period of time, you'll be receiving your regular, interest or coupons. So that will also serve as another, revenue stream for you. That is investment income. If you buy stocks periodically, the listed companies also pay dividends. And so investment income is one of the sources that they can be looking at. Then another source has to do with business income. Maybe you are running a business in addition to your employment that you do. You are running some small business. That can also serve as a source of income for you. I mean, generally in Ghana, we talk about employment income, we talk about investment income, and we talk about business income. Now, the question is, what kind of business are we looking at here? Because as an average worker, before you can set up a company, you need a heavy capital outlay. And so if it is an SME, how much do you intend to generate? So you see that money that comes, you put some into investment. Over a period of time, you can go in for that money, your investment, to actually start a small business. Then you still continue with your investment again, which means that if you are disciplined, focused, and intentional, in the next 5 years that you start this whole thing, you'll be still continue to earn your salary, your employment income. You will still continue to get your investment income, and then you still continue to get your, get something from your business income. And so these are some of the smart ways of going about it. But depending on just employment income, salaries in this economy, I think it will be very challenging. Unless you are top there where, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So that is. But talking about business, are there some businesses that people can start? I know that is not why you are here, but
yes.
Just in case you have any ideas, you could just throw to people.
It will be difficult at this moment to actually say this business or this business is something that people can go with. But what I've noticed of late is that a lot of the young people are going into farming, especially poultry farming. That is something that I've noticed. I mean, recently the government implemented the Akukon Kitinkiti program where those chicks will be distributed to people because the government intends to cut down significantly on the importation of chicken. So, agric is one of the areas that a lot of young guys are actually going in. Agriculture, you don't have to be in the farm yourself and be working there. But once you have some people out there, the only thing you have to do is to monitor them so that the right thing will be done. I also know people are into cultivation of vegetables. A lot these days, especially the young ones. And so these are some of the areas. But before you can set up a business, a lot of consideration will go into it because you need to know the customer base, you need to know the capital you need. So in fact, it's a whole lot of discussions that when we start today, we may not finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But agric is somewhere people can look at.
Yes, agric is an area that a lot of people are venturing into these days because the capital outlay out there is not really that much. And so a lot of young guys are moving into it. I know of quite a number of friends who are into vegetable, farming, pepper and those kind of vegetable farming, and they are doing quite well. I imagine that you are a worker, you have a vegetable farm that is doing well for you, and you are also doing some small investments. I think at the end of the day, you should be fine.
It should be fine. All right. We've been talking about individuals a lot. Let's talk about business. Maybe just touch on one thing and then we can wrap up our conversation this morning. I want to know, usually small businesses actually face unique pressures. From cash flow to rising operational costs and all of that. What financial strategies should business owners prioritize to stay resilient in the coming year?
Well, I think it also boils down again to the planning that we were talking about. You have to plan your activity. You have to plan your operations. And because as a business person, if you don't plan, you end up doing things that are off board. And so planning and budgeting is key. You need to know the sources from which your revenue is coming from. You need to know the expenditure that you incur. And once you have that in mind, it will serve as a guide. People are running business, but they don't know the difference between profit and cash. Cash is not profit. So when they are selling a lot, they think that they are making profit. Meanwhile, sometimes they sell on credit. The probability that the person will not pay is also very high. And so I think that planning and budgeting is very key. And also, if you are coming from a non-accounting background, I think you need to get somebody that can be guiding you as far as your operation is concerned. In that case, if you make a sale of, let's say, 100,000 today, and just 20,000 is cash and 80,000 is a receivable, you will not say, okay, I've made a sale of 100,000, and so my profit margin is, let's say, 40,000. No, because at the end of the day, anything at all can happen. When the person defaults, it's going to hit you hard. So I think that we need to, as businesses who are not so much, friendly with accounting or finance, we need to get people who can assist us in that direction so that we can clearly distinguish between what is cash, what is profit, and also our tax obligations. Because, see, you can be hiding away, but one day when GRA comes, when they give you your tax liability, they will add penalties, they will add interest and all that. So we need to have people who can guide us so that we can do the right thing.
So that we can do the right thing. All right.
Yeah.
So maybe finally, what would be the role of technology in all of these? How can digital tools actually, in a way, help improve the discipline and the clarity and all the things, even helping in the planning we're talking about?
Well, I think we cannot take technology actually out of our business operations because it actually helps to simplify our operation. It actually helps to monitor your operation, especially if you want to check your stock. And it basically makes things very easy for you. And so it is always advisable that we inject a bit of technology into our operation, because what human being can do in an hour, technology can do that in seconds. And so technology is key. And once you're a business person and you want your business to flourish, then you must spend a lot of money buying the right tools, buying the right technology, the right software to enhance, simplify your operations for you.
All right. I think our time is up. Maybe your final, is there anything we haven't touched on that maybe you may want to talk about before we go?
Well, I think we have exhausted almost all the areas, most especially those that regard to personal financial planning. And so I would just want to encourage again that don't spend before you invest. Always make sure you invest before you spend.
All right. Elson, thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm really, really grateful that you made time to join us. I think it's been a great conversation. I'm really grateful.
All right. Thank you for having me.
And I'm not too sure if we're going to speak before the year ends, and Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you. All right. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. All right, so that was Nelson Kudjo Kwagbeji. He is a financial analyst and he is with Melbourne Capital. And he joined us this morning talking about some smart money moves that you have to make before, so that you can secure your financial future when we get into 2026. And I think it's been a great conversation, and you picked a thing or two. Some of the things that he's speaking about are things that we don't quite pay attention to. So you may want to play back this audio or the video, and then you can get to make some notes out of it. Maybe you join a conversation midway or halfway. You can actually visit our social media platforms. We're on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. We stream live on both platforms, so you can visit those platforms and then you can play back, because we want to see you succeed financially going into 2026. And that is why we had this conversation this morning. Please take a thing or two and try to put it into action so that you can see the fruits thereof. All right, so that's how we wrap up today. Thanks so much to Nelson Kudjo Kwagbeji. He's a financial analyst and he joined us this morning for our conversation. And thanks to you too for listening to us right from 9 a.m. till this point. We're so grateful that you joined us. We're back again tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day of the year. We're bringing a very interesting conversation, and I believe that you don't want to miss that. Please keep listening to Z101.9 FM. My name is Nitra Bihamon. Thanks to the production team for their support, and I'll see you tomorrow. But when you think Ghana, do well to think Z as well. And of course, up next is a